There was a match halted in Hartford. We talk about brand new USL expansion team possibilities, and Kyle Martino joins the show to talk Atletico Dallas. That and more on Monday's Morning Kickaround. Hello and welcome to the show. This is Morning Kick Around. We talk about the world's game being played right here in the United States. I'm local soccer guy Robert Kerr. He's radio soccer guy Jason Davis. We do the show live Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and always on demand on the Morning Kick Around YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us here on the first day of autumn 2025. How you feeling, Mr. Davis?
I'm good. I'm ready. It's Monday. We got two excellent guests on the program. UT's Kyle Martino. That's coming up. I'm very excited to talk to Kyle because we've covered Atletico Dallas. We spent some time with one of their founders in Albuquerque just about a week ago. And Kyle's been out to the ownership group in Dallas. So that'll be interesting. And he's got all these other projects going on. He's obviously a busy man. He's doing commentary. He's got the Golfer and Over Under and Street FC. But also Dan Creel is going to be on to talk about something salacious American soccer lawsuits, because we can't get away from those, Rob.
No, never get away from those. Definitely, maybe we could chalk that up to a United States soccer being weird segment, perhaps. But we move right along. If you haven't subscribed already, do so now. Join the movement. Help us dot the map. And we'll continue to do that. And we will do that in this show across the United States. Teams, players, countries, and viewers dotting this map here on Morning Kick Around. But we got a lot to get to, so let's kick right into segment one, long balls here on Monday's Morning Kick Around. Let's go. Kicking off our long balls here on Monday morning. I'm Robert. He's Jason. Subscribe if you haven't. Leading the way. Unfortunately, we got some good news in today's show, but we're leading off with something maybe not so pretty. The match in the United States USL Championship, I should say, halted at the death. Pittsburgh visiting Hartford Athletic. Pitt got a late 89th minute go-ahead goal, but it led to a couple confrontations, which led to possibly an abandonment of this match.
Yeah, it was an abandoned match. I mean, the match was halted as it was reported, and we relied on the Blazing Musket for some reporting on this. That is a very good blog website covering New England soccer, New England Revolution primarily, but they've added the Hartford Athletic to this as well.
It's your
Again, report confrontation between fans at Hartford Athletic match. So this is going to actually beyond the event that happened on the field that led to the abandoned match. So you had this goal, then you had allegations of a racial slur being said on the field. Now, it's not clear to me who said the slur, and we're not going to identify anybody. We're not going to say this player did it. We don't know that part yet. And according to the reporting at the Blazing Musket, who did have either eyewitness accounts or who talked to people who were there, there was some thought about who it might be based on some other interaction. But what we know is that Marlon Hairston of Hartford said that a Pittsburgh player racially abused him. This led to a long discussion with the referee and the abandoned match. Now, again, from the Blazing Musket, according to an eyewitness, an individual wearing a Pittsburgh jersey came along the east stand and initiated a confrontation with Hartford fans. At first, it was verbal, but according to the same eyewitness, there was subsequently some pushing and shoving between the Pittsburgh fan and a Hartford fan, and they were separated by security staff. Then, after the match had been abandoned, a group of Pittsburgh fans, according to the eyewitness, including the individual who had originally started that issue with the Hartford fans in the beginning, were involved in a second confrontation as they were leaving the stadium. Words were exchanged. Someone informed the Pittsburgh supporters that the match was abandoned because of a racial slur, and then there was some commentary. I'm going to point you in the direction of the Blazing Musket because it's their reporting, and it gets into some hearsay that I'm not super comfortable about. But obviously it's terrible. We don't need any of this, period, in life, but much less in our soccer, and certainly not here in America, right? That you will, and I don't like this idea that we're exceptional sometimes because it clouds our judgment about what is actually going on in the world. But we always talk about Italy's got problems. Maybe England's got a problem every now and then.
Spain.
Maybe Spain's definitely got problems. Vinny Jr.'s on the record saying we got problems here. I mean, the various players in Spain have said it's not good here. We tend to think it's not a thing in America. And I don't know if that it happens regularly, but clearly these kind of things now on the field seems to be actually more of an American issue than even the off the field stuff. Spain usually involves fans. Italy seems to involve fans. We've had a couple of high profile incidents. Obviously, Luis Suarez has been in our thoughts recently for various reasons. Yeah. He's famous for having an incident on the field. We've had a couple of these. They're all bad. Now, I don't know where we stand in what the league is going to do. So this is early days for that. But here are the statements from the individual clubs. I thought this would be informative. This is from Pittsburgh, right? Pittsburgh Riverhounds are aware of Hartford Athletics' request for a USL investigation following tonight's match. Our organization takes any allegation of discriminatory or offensive language extremely seriously. At the same time, we stand by our players and firmly deny that such language was used. We will fully cooperate with the league's investigation into the matter. Now, I don't like that. I don't like this. We firmly deny that such language was used. Let the investigation play out. Say that you take a stand against discriminatory and offensive language. Sure. And I guess you want to support your player if the player is saying, I didn't do it. But we've had players say, I didn't do it, and turns out they did it, right? This is not something you can be sure of yet, Pittsburgh. I'm just going to say that. Here's Hartford's side. Unfortunately, due to an on-field verbal exchange between the Pittsburgh and Hartford Athletic player, Hartford Athletic players and technical staff did not feel comfortable proceeding with the match this evening. The club has requested the league to conduct an investigation regarding the use of racially offensive language by a Pittsburgh player. Again, Marlon Hairston is the player who says that this happened. And I commend Hartford, right? Let's take Marlon Hairston at his word, which I think is probably the right stance to take. If this happened, then it's the right thing to do for Hartford to walk off the field, no matter when it happens. Now, you could look at the scoreline if you want to be cynical and say, well, they just given up the go-ahead goal, right? This is a ploy, or this is some way to try to upend a result that didn't go their way. Man, I think it takes a lot for a player to say, I'm done with this. Players want to play soccer. They don't want to walk off the field. Marlon Hairston doesn't want to be the guy who's at the center of a thing because he told his team he was racially abused if he didn't get racially abused, right? If you think about the incentives here, the motivations for Hairston, lying about this that doesn't give him anything really. It only makes it worse for him. And again, if Pittsburgh's going to deny it happened, why would you want to bring that on yourself? So nobody knows exactly, and we'll have to let the investigation play out, provided USL intends to do one, which isn't confirmed yet either, Rob. But yeah, we don't need this in American soccer.
Yeah, things definitely got heated. These two teams sitting in 5th and 6th, respectively. Pittsburgh Riverhounds catch up within 1 point of Hartford with this result, winning eventually this match 2-1. Like you said, match was abandoned, but got very, very deep into the match, all the way up until stoppage time.
Rob, FOTMob reports it as a full-time match. It doesn't say abandoned.
That's why I said allegedly when we started all this.
Right, because, again, Hartford is saying, we stopped playing. We walked off the field. We didn't want to continue. The match was not officially over. That's what they're saying. Again, maybe Pittsburgh is saying, no, match is complete. We get the 3 points. Whatever happened, sure, whatever, investigate it. First of all, again, they're saying we firmly deny it happened, but we don't have details yet. And again, it's going to be a test here of USL, how they handle this moving forward.
And I guess this kind of goes contrary to anyone from the outside saying that in American soccer is cookie cutters, just families, and it's a light fare. Even ugly things can encroach into this bubble of soccer. And yeah, like you said, we shall see how USL and these clubs deal with this, especially if it's found to be guilty. And if there was more in that player versus crowd incident, that always gets ugly when there's incidents between two sets of supporters and players getting involved. It sounds like regardless of what the specific details get parsed out, it was an ugly scene regardless out there in Hartford.
And one of the problems of this, of course, is that it paints the club supporters all with the same brush, even though it might only involve a handful of people. It sort of paints a problem in the league's view. I mean, I'm not sure that USL will suffer too much about one incident happening in Hartford, but certainly, we've had moments in American soccer where there have been, there's been a little bit of violence, or there's been fans getting into it, or flares, fire, all these things, or the chants that sometimes creep into American soccer, and they make it easy for the anti-soccer crowd to go, hey, look, they're all hooligans. Hey, look, they're all doing these terrible things. This is why we don't like soccer in this country. And I, even if it's just a tiny little bit of static for American soccer, even if it's just a couple of people making that point, it sucks for us.
Yeah, with that, we will move along to long ball number 2. We're going to dot the map here, and we're dotting the map with new teams, but also supporters of this show over the weekend. Shout out to Mike in Brazil becoming a new member. Thank you so much for supporting the show, and $3.99 a month gets you in there.
You know what, Rob? This reminds me, because last week we debuted our map, right? We showed off the map that we have that we're putting together over in the Discord so that people can see where our ultras are. And luckily the map is worldwide. It's a Google map situation where you can drop your pins. I wasn't thinking about it being worldwide, though. I was like, oh, look, America. We got this side of the Mississippi and that side. But if we got Mike in Brazil, I know our man Andy, who's in here all the time. There he is right there. I don't know if Andy's an ultra, but we've got Andy in here all the time. He goes to Colombia. He's not always in Colombia, but he's in Colombia sometimes. Like, we need to be able to say, hey, we got fans, we got listeners, we got ultras all over the world.
And domestically on the team map, there's possibly a few more to add. Last week, there was press release coming out of Brownsville, Texas, one of the 70 cities that USL has reached out to, and a letter of intent to explore pro soccer at the border. Brownsville, right on the southernmost part of Texas, an expanding city right there on the Mexican border, exploring the opportunity for pro soccer in Brownsville.
You are saying this is one of the 70 cities, but we don't have it from the league. This is one of our 70 cities.
An assumption of the 70.
We're putting 2 and 2 together, which you're right to do so. I mean, I think it's logically that makes sense. But that's where we're this is what we're doing, where we had Justin Papadakis go on the soccer business, or the business of soccer. Which one is it? One of those two things. Shout out to our guys over there. He went on that show, he went on that podcast, and he said, we're talking to 70 cities about launching soccer teams, about building soccer stadiums. And we went 70. That's a lot. That seems like a lot.
That's a lot.
And of course, Justin is the real estate officer. And this is in fact, USL, he might as well be the expansion idea, might as well be real estate, right? That's basically what's happening here. And this seems to be now, if you go, this is from the Channel 5 in Brownsville is where I clipped this story. And there's a video there, as you can see. We're not going to play it, but you got a reporter out at a stadium in Brownsville. So this is not, I don't know exactly what kind of development might be done or what kind of updates might be done to that building, Rob. And this is, again, early days, and neither of us live in Brownsville, Texas, but it does seem like there's some idea of taking an existing facility and doing something with it to allow for a new team to step into this league. Now, they have had in Brownsville, they have a FC Brownsville, which is an MPSL team, and a UPSL team, which we talked about, right? Those high amateur teams, they're playing summer schedules, or the UPSL, they're playing a spring and a fall tournament. They're largely ex-college players, maybe a couple of sprinkling of pros who have a little bit of experience on other places. That team, I don't know if that team is behind this, right? And again, the city wants to get a feasibility study done to see if any upgrades are needed at Brownsville Sports Park, which would serve as the team's official site if the deal is finalized. So this is, by the way, this is the same general area as RGV Toros at Rio Grande Valley played, which we talked about recently, because now the stadium that they played in, rather, is a college football stadium for the college university in Rio Grande
Yeah,
Valley.
bucking the trend of using football stadiums for soccer. It's the reverse there in Rio
But
Grande
I
Valley.
I want to show you something that I think is very pertinent to this. And again, as we talk about what USL is trying to do and how they're approaching this. So down at the bottom there of this article, which is on the screen, it says the study, right? The study around what they need to do to launch this team, improvements to Brownsville Sports Park. The study is being paid for by the United Soccer League. So this very much is something we talked about, that this is USL going out, speculating, looking, scouting for cities, saying, okay, do they have a stadium that might be able to fit a pro soccer team? Do they have X, they go down a list. Do they have this? Do they have this? Do they have a marketplace? They have fans. They have, what kind of corporate money could help support this team in town? Those kind of things. Then they go, okay, they go to the city and they say, hey, we think a pro soccer team might work in your town. You got a stadium? Okay, let's see if we can make that work. Maybe we try to build a stadium. Would you be interested in building a stadium? Let's see if we can find a deal. Oh, and then we'll go out and we'll connect you with somebody who's got some money who might want to invest in this. Right? This is now in my head, that's cart before the horse, Rob. Do you see it that way?
To a degree, well, it makes sense that they're doing that way if they really are trying to be aggressive and push this and try to dot the map as in many ways as they possibly can. So that Papadakis quote was saying that mayors have turned a generation from baseball lovers to soccer lovers. So they are kind of going ahead and trying to find as many places where there might be an opportunity to expand, make a real estate deal, and then kind of filling in the gap. So in a sense, it's not necessarily like maybe not as grassrootsy as, oh, there's one team that's growing and they just need a little bit of a push over the edge. This is, hey, let's package something up and then try to find someone that's involved to then sprout it. So it's like, is the watering the ground before the seeds there, perhaps? It could be an analogy for that.
I know it's taken on a negative connotation in American soccer, in particular because it stands in contrast to how clubs were launched and grew in other places around the world, where, of course, we are jealous of what England has or what Italy or France or Germany have. But this is franchising. I mean, that's what this is. This is franchising. This is saying, oh, there's a marketplace for our product. Let's go find somebody to invest in it. Now, obviously, franchising can work the other way, where you have somebody reach out to the company, they reach out to Kentucky Fried Chicken. They go, hey, this town needs a Kentucky Fried Chicken. Can I buy your franchise rights for this area? But that's what this is, right? It's just that USL is doing the work ahead of the money coming in, so they can present this to people who might otherwise be skeptical or might not otherwise want to engage with that. Because if you don't know anything about soccer or you don't have the infrastructure, there aren't that many Phil Rollinses in the world. Phil Rollins is the guy who launched a team in Austin, Texas, with the idea of one day taking it to Major League Soccer. But he did all the work. He was a soccer guy who found money or had some money and put a team in Austin. And then when it didn't work out in Austin, what did he do, Rob? He moved to Orlando. He took his team to Orlando because it wasn't working. He couldn't get the stadium he wanted to be built in Austin. He couldn't get MLS to pay attention to Austin. This is well ahead of Austin, of the team that's in there now, Austin FC. And he went to Orlando, and eventually he got more money from Brazilian investors. So what I'm saying is that this is exactly, but I don't know, as Americans, I don't know that we should be annoyed or worried about this, because again, if it is about dotting the map, which is what we're saying around here, if we do want to have more clubs in places that we think can support clubs, we can't be too precious about the way it happens. We cannot be too precious about whether some guy with money in Brownsville is like, I want to launch a team, or a community wants to launch a team in Brownsville and somehow scrapes together the money. If it requires USL to do the work, okay. By the way, the other part of this, and I know it's a weird time for this, is that this is a city you said it's on the border. It's way down there in that bottom part of Texas. It is about as far south as you can go.
Yeah.
And it's right across the border from Matamoros, Mexico. And I don't know how that marketplace might interact. Like, is this a team for Brownsville? Sure. Could it also be a team for some of those Mexican fans who can cross the border and maybe go to a game? That's a good question.
Do we want to look? I don't know if this is the exact thing they're going to turn out with, but I thought that was a pretty interesting way to unveil their situationship with the soccer. Is this jersey here?
You can see the Mexican influence in the pattern that's on that shirt. I guess 956 is probably their area code. I'm gonna guess,
Mhm.
I'm gonna guess that's the area code for Brownsville. I don't know. That's a color, man. If they play in that, that is a color. Like that is a choice. Not a lot of teams doing that in 2025. I think we just had a Premier League team playing brown. Who was playing in brown this past weekend, Rob? Did you
I
see
didn't
that?
catch much Premier League this weekend other
Okay.
than, my Liverpool guys, squeaking one
Okay.
by, but,
I
yeah,
we
that is a choice, and I commend anyone for, making bold choices. Hopefully, the numbers on the back will stand out a little bit more. Brown on brown, not easy for the play-by-play commentators, to note the players. We only have a moment left. Do we wanna note the team coming to Memphis and maybe a little bit of the confusion there? But Memphis 901, they went away, unfortunately, a year or so back. So Memphis without a team, but another local channel number 5 in Memphis, Tennessee, reporting a team. They're calling it pro, but is actually a USL 2 team, Memphis FC. So lovers of the football in Memphis will have something to cheer for in 2026 if this all pans out. But USL 2 level, maybe a
Yeah.
little bit of a misnomer going on with what is a semi-pro team, what is a fully pro team. But Memphis, what do you think of this badge?
I don't mind the badge. I like the badge. I don't know. They're design people will tell you that the whole like circular, I think it's like a roundel. It's a roundel.
Yeah, I
I don't
think
know
you're
how you
right.
say it. Yeah, they'll tell you that's overplayed. That it got used a little bit too much in recent years, but I like it. I like that lion is not particularly striking in any real way, but obviously Memphis has that's a thing, right? That this idea of what Memphis is named after an Egyptian city, all those things, all those links. I don't know exactly where they're going with this. I don't mind the badge. I do think it's interesting. There's a little brand confusion, right? And I don't know if I'm not blaming Jacob Gallant, who wrote this piece on the website for the local news station, but it does say new pro soccer team coming to Memphis. And then after a brief hiatus, professional soccer is returning to Memphis. Now, in a subsequent line in the story, it does say semi-pro USL League Two. And of course, that's very different than the team he's referencing when he says after a brief hiatus, because Memphis 901 was a USL championship team playing second division soccer in America. Now, they were playing in a minor league ballpark, and there were lots of things that were, not top level about Memphis 901, but it didn't work out. They couldn't figure out a stadium solution with that minor league baseball stadium not working out anymore. And their franchise rights got sold to Santa Barbara. So, this is a story of American soccer in microcosm. A team comes to town, does some things. Tim Howard was involved. I think Tim Howard played for Memphis
Yeah,
901.
he was there that first year of the team, I believe he played.
Yeah, he played in Memphis. He was part of the ownership group. They were trying to make this work. They had this whole like musical element. Like, I think the badge was like a record or something. It was kind of like referencing some of the musical history of Memphis, and it just didn't work. Like it died. It's a dead club now. And I think I actually probably have a Memphis 901 thing in my studio right now, because what do? I collect dead soccer club stuff. Not because I'm looking for them, but because they come to me while the club exists and then the club dies. So bang, it's gone. And I hate that, right? I hate that that's what happens. And what that the tension there, Rob, is start the club at the risk that it doesn't work, right? Start the club at the risk that you're going to collapse, that your stadium deal is not going to work out, that you're going to run out of money, that the fans won't show up, or take a shot. Like we have, and I know we have people in our chat on a regular basis who say clubs need to die so that other clubs can learn from their mistakes and live. And maybe that's true. I guess I can understand that philosophy, but I definitely think it hurts the marketplace for soccer in a given town when a team that people either get attached to or slowly become aware of drops off the face of the planet. Like, why would you engage with a professional soccer club in a town if you don't know if they're going to last? Why take your kids out to a game if next year that team won't be there and you're going to have to explain to your kid why that club is not there anymore?
And it'll be interesting the approach of if this intention is to eventually become a pro team. Is it better to splash onto the scene and introduce your product as it is from day one, or garner some support, grow it foundational, learn from your mistakes at the amateur level where the budgets aren't as high, as the gamble isn't as high, but you're associated with amateurism? Or is it start small and then expand out? What is the preferred way? What is the brand recognition? Do they present themselves in a way of like, this is a small start to something that turns big, that what like a la Fort Wayne is trying to do, or what Detroit
Right.
did?
Right.
Or is it like setting yourself up like, oh, that's just the amateur team?
Yeah, that's a problem. I do think that you building slow, being reasonable with your expectations, being smart about how ambitious you are to begin makes a lot of sense. Now, capturing enough attention to build momentum, that's what you're talking about. That's the thing that is harder, right? Is like, okay, they're playing this team is going to play at the Mike Rose Soccer Complex,
Mhm.
2,500 seats there in Memphis. And
They're
I don't
playing
know
in a
the
soccer thing. That's a start. They're playing in a
that's a
soccer
start.
thing.
They're playing in a soccer stadium. They're not playing in a baseball stadium or a high school football stadium. They're playing in a soccer venue. 2,500 seats is not much, Rob. It's not a lot of people. Now, again, we've talked about we just did that video on Miami FC wanting to build a stadium in Homestead. They average 1,000 fans per game right now playing at FIU, and it doesn't make sense for them to be there anymore. And people say, oh, it's gonna fail in Homestead because look at how few fans they draw. Now, you could also argue that they're trying to keep themselves going by moving to a slightly different place and maybe capturing a new fan base. And again, maybe the stadium makes them more interesting. This micro soccer complex is nowhere near downtown Memphis. It is a ways out. It's in Memphis, but it's a ways out. Is this going to be a thing that is relevant to Memphis's sports scene, or is it going to be a curiosity that a few people go out and support? And again, it's a short season team too. Right now, it's a USL League Two team. They're going to play 3 months. They're going to come and go. So the diehards may show up, but is this the kind of thing that has a future, or should it? Like, should the people starting Memphis Football Club go, we really want to get to that top level, or we want to be Division One USL one day, or should they just go, let's just start here and do something and see what happens? And if we're smart about it, then we can build, right? And Huey, who just became an MK Ultra, shout out Huey.
Yeah.
2,500 full seats is better than 15,000 half empty. Agreed.
Couldn't agree more. The USL2 team I support, we played in a slightly smaller stadium for a rearrangement, and having a smaller stadium packed shoulder to shoulder brought a whole different kind of atmosphere and a whole different thing. And I was just going to say, we saw an article talking about like probably the best approach for USL is to like just keep doing what they're doing 10, 20 years, look up from now, and then see if they're competing at the top level. With this, it's interesting to see what the approach is. Like last week with the Miami thing, build a 15,000 person stadium and see what fills up, or start small and build out.
But
and we're really
you
in
could
the
argue,
planning the
look,
seeds thing, and it'll be interesting to see which of these ethos or business models works out.
you could argue that USL, with their approach, 70 cities, conversations, Brownsville, who else have we been talking about recently that is just in the very beginning phases of maybe putting a team in their town. I mean, every week Rob and I meet and we're like, oh, there's a new team being announced, so there's new effort, there's new studies happening, there's new this, new that. That is aggressive. Right? It's extremely aggressive. It is not sort of sit there, wait for people to come to you and say, hey, we want to start a soccer team in our town. How much does it cost? $5 million? We're in. This is actively going out and trying to plant the seeds. It's actively going out and looking for people, because you are striking while the iron is hot. Soccer is growing in a way, and this is partly due to MLS, but partly due to other factors as well. Soccer is growing in a way it never has before. So I don't blame them. But that is aggressive, and that's not sitting back and going, let's just keep working on our stuff and let's worry about our side of the street and then we'll get there one day. This is pushing the envelope. D1 is pushing the envelope. Pro Rel is pushing the envelope. 70 cities pushing the envelope.
Yeah, definitely pushing the agenda, trying to grow the map and dot the map in their own way. Speaking of dotting the map, thank you so much to Chris for becoming a new member today. Mike in Brazil, thank you for becoming a member over the weekend. And if you want to become a member, $3.99 a month is all it takes to do that. Doesn't cost you a thing to become a subscriber, and it definitely doesn't cost you anything to tell your friends and family about our show and how much you are enjoying the content. You can find us on social media at mkickaround, or write us an email. We've been getting some nice emails. morningkickaround@gmail.com. We do have a bevy of hosts this week, including 2
guests
on the show.
Guests. You said hosts, you meant guests. Sorry.
A bevy of guests. I'm not losing my job just yet. A bevy of guests on the show this week, including 2 on the show. Kyle Martino joins us for the final segment, but we're welcomed next by the guest waiting in the wings, Dan Creel. We're going to talk some trademarks and lawsuits here on Morning Kickaround. This is Culture Wars here on Morning Kickaround. I'm Robert. In the middle is Jason Davis. On the far side, writer, historian, and blogger Dan Creel. We're here to talk today about the reemergence of the New York Cosmos and the legal fallout that has come from it. Dan, welcome to Morning Kickaround, sir.
Thanks for having me. I don't know what the singular of bevy is, so bevi or something. So I'm one of those guests. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you coming by, Dan. The reason Dan is here is, as Rob just said, there's a lawsuit. Now, I guess first I need to know, Dan, are we in any danger of being sued if we dive into this conversation here in America?
Who knows? It's America. But no, we're just talking about these issues. We're not giving any type of legal information. We're not anything like that. Legal advice, no legal advice here.
It just feels like one of the parties involved in this is litigious, or maybe not litigious. Maybe that's not maybe that's not fair to him. He certainly is aggressive in using the law in ways that he thinks will benefit, or he says will benefit all the soccer fans,
all of us as fans.
But clearly it's about him. Now if you don't know, we're talking about Scott Michaels. He goes by the Matchmaker, which I think is a reference to an earlier career. I don't exactly know. Dan, can you give us a little thumbnail sketch on what he's been up to?
So real quickly, there's a lot here, but Scott Michaels popped up on the American soccer scene 2022, middle to end of that. He started tweeting and he put up a website called the National Soccer League. He said he was the founder of the National Soccer League, and what he was doing was bringing back some of the old clubs. So he trademarked Los Angeles Aztecs, Chicago Sting. He was saying he's bringing them back. The Galacticos, supposedly they were headquartered in Los Angeles, and he was in talks with Memorial Stadium in Los Angeles and Titan Stadium to bring this league. In that year, I think he wanted to play the Aztecs. He commented that it was going to be something like the Harlem Globetrotters, that they would go around and play other teams until they got the league started. And so he's on Twitter all the time. He's on LinkedIn a lot. So on LinkedIn, he would post things like, "Oh, I'm proud to say I'm now the club owner of the Los Angeles Aztecs," things like that. So that's what happened in 2022. He was very kind of lots of talk about himself. He called himself the Matchmaker, said he has all these networks and he had this big team of people who are helping him bring this league and these teams back. And what he's done over the past, basically within 2022, 2023, he trademarked over 20 trademarks of soccer trademarks.
Can I stop you just for a moment, Dan?
Yes, please.
Just a point of detail.
Yeah.
How could he do that?
Oh, well, I mean, anybody, if anybody can go try to trademark something with the United States Trademark Office, and that's what he did. Basically, what he was saying was these old trademarks, mostly they were old North American Soccer League teams, had been abandoned. Therefore, he was trademarking them to bring them back. But he would say things like, "I have registered the Los Angeles trademark, federally registered Los Angeles trademarks," and bringing them back. So there's a lot of skepticism, of course, pushing back on him. And he was very kind of aggressive about what he was doing. And he would go take folks to task about naysaying on them. So that's what happened. In 2023, he kind of went quiet. Then he basically erased almost all of his social media and relaunched the National Soccer League again. Last year, 2024, he did, I think, 3 or 4 refunders for these teams. Invest in the Chicago Sting, invest in the Washington Diplomats, invest in the Los Angeles Aztecs to bring them back. So that kind of brings us, and nothing has ever.
Has there ever been? No soccer has been played.
No soccer has been played.
No stadium deals.
Has gear been sold?
So my understanding is gear has been sold. There's gear on his various websites.
Okay.
There's branded gear for these teams on his various websites.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So we'll bring this in because we want to interact with our viewers. This is Soccer Night in Detroit. He's one of our MK Ultras. Shout out to him. He's saying release the Express because he's saying like all the stuff he could he used to be able to get with Express logos on it is now dried up because Scott Michaels has locked down those trademarks.
I have no idea. So all the trademarks he has applied for 22 trademarks. None of them have been officially approved as of today.
Okay.
So it's an entire process, but
he's planted a flag, but nothing is happening. All right. You said it was going to bring us to the moment. Let's talk about the Cosmos.
Yeah.
Where are we with the Cosmos?
So the Cosmos have been in limbo since the whole NASL versus MLS stuff, right? And the Cosmos hooked up with early NISA. They only lasted, I think, half a season, and they kind of disappeared again because of NISA wasn't a place for the Cosmos to play for a variety of reasons. So they've been kind of in limbo since that point. Earlier this year, in I think middle of May of this year, a group called New Jersey Soccer Club, I think, received a USL League One franchise, and they said they're also going to field a women's team. Now, this group is involved with the renovation of Hinchcliffe Stadium in Paterson, New Jersey, a very old, kind of storied stadium. So they were going to bring a team back to Paterson, New Jersey. Eric Stover, who was part of New York.
Eric's been on the show, Dan.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He was part of this group, and so this kind of kicked off Mr. Michaels' new kind of litigious kind of area here. And so what he did is, I'm just going to do this very quickly. He created, so all these trademarks were under his name originally. Yeah. He created a company in the UK called Football is for the Fans Limited. In mid-May, he assigned all of these trademarks from himself to this company in the UK. Actually, he assigned it to a subsidiary company in Texas, in Austin, Texas. So except for one, and we'll get to that in a minute. But it's organized in Delaware with this subsidiary in New York, which is all under Football is for Fans Limited in the UK. So he did that in June 1st, and you can see what really pushed him is that there was bubbling up. The New York Cosmos were coming back, right? And what happened is this New Jersey going to play in Paterson franchise. They acquired all the international intellectual property from the Cosmos, from Rocco.
Yeah, they
signed it officially, and now basically what Mr. Michaels is doing after that happened that same week, and there was the announcement came out that that's what's happened. The Cosmos are returning. He then filed 2 more trademarks for New York Cosmos FC and the Cosmos. And there might be a third one. And these were kind of new ones. One was officially applied for by the UK company. The other 1 or 2 was from that Texas subsidiary. So and now what he's saying, and then I'll get to the lawsuits. What he said he wants to do is play matches between the New York Cosmos, his New York Cosmos, and another team somewhere in England, in a stadium in England. I can't remember exactly where, but yes, that's where we are with him.
Okay, we'll let you out there watching. We'll let you determine how much stock you put into any of Mr. Michael's efforts towards actually playing soccer. But there is, because the Cosmos intend to play as the Cosmos in Northern Jersey at Hinchcliffe Stadium. This has now led to a direct issue, legally speaking.
Right. Mr. Michaels filed the first lawsuit. I'm just looking over here. He filed the first lawsuit. I'm just clicking. Against Mediacom, so that's Rocco's company, for trademark. He filed 2 in 2 weeks. The second one was the court quickly dismissed because they were basically the same. I'm not sure what he filed 2. So this was in beginning of August. Then another one in late August. So Hinchcliffe Sports Partners, which I think now is the official name for the entity which is controlling the New York Cosmos, they filed a trademark infringement act against Mr. Michaels. That's the big one, and that's a lot of going back and forth. Mr. Michaels then filed a defamation suit against Werner Roth, former New York Cosmos great. Mr. Michaels is on LinkedIn a lot and he makes a bunch of, statements, big statements. And Werner Roth, I believe, just said, "This guy, I don't trust this guy." And now Mr. Michaels is now has filed a lawsuit against him. 2 more lawsuits. Mr. Michaels filed a lawsuit directly, a trademark lawsuit against Stover, originally calling him Erica Stover, and then having to go back and fix that typo, Derek.
Okay.
And Mr. Michaels' final lawsuit is against the trademark office itself for basically taking way too long to approve all his different trademarks. So
That's novel.
Yes. So he's got a lot going on. Okay. And also just one quick thing is that he has asked, so you can there's a lot of fees, filing fees and transcript fees that go with lawsuits. You can ask the court to waive those fees. Oh, by the way, all these lawsuits he brought them in federal court in the Southern District of New York. It's a bold move.
That's a choice too, right?
Yes, it's a choice.
All right.
So he actually filed for a waiver because of lack of financial ability, so he wouldn't have to pay all these fees. And there is a financial statement. It's all public record. There's a financial statement that you have to show the court to prove that you don't have the ability to pay for these things. And it's got his finances pretty much on there, and he doesn't really have the resources to field a soccer club.
So this seems like a very strange long play to sell merch to me, right? Is there anything beyond this? Like, I don't know if we want to speculate too much, but this seems like a lot of effort for what seems to be the product he's going for.
That's a good question. As honestly, Robert, on all seriousness, I'm not exactly sure what Mr. Michaels what he's doing here. End game here, because it feels like he's Don Quixote at this point. Because I wasn't sure if he was just trying to get a settlement deal, right? People do this with these type of actions. They sit on a trademark and they hope for a settlement deal, and to make some money off of it. But then he filed all these lawsuits in district court, and that speaks that he's maybe somebody who actually believes kind of what he's putting out there.
Look, I mean, again, I think there's an easy conclusion to jump to here. There's an easy judgment to make, and I'm sure a lot of people are making it. I mean, you mentioned people. Mark Fishkin seems to be very interested in pushing back or illuminating people to what Mr. Michaels is trying to do, and I respect Mark. I don't know if he really believes that there's some right to this on his behalf. The fact he's operating from the UK is it's not strange in with the Cosmos, but the rest of these brands, it is odd. It just feels strange that it's dislocated from American soccer, and here he is trying to grab all of these American soccer marks, some of which have a little bit of historical value and marketing value, and some of which probably don't have much. I mean, I guess it's cool to see an Aztec shirt, and if you're an American soccer fan and a nerd and you know about the Aztecs, you might go pick one up. But I just don't. Again, this seems like as Rob said, it seems like a lot of effort to maybe sell a handful of Los Angeles Aztec shirts. So, and people are also mentioning, if you go and look at his output online, whether it's his website or his LinkedIn or whatever, he tends to use a lot of AI, and he puts himself. He puts himself in these pictures where people are holding up scarves for whatever former NESL team he's referencing. And I don't know.
If anyone cares to Google, there is one of him hugging Pele, and a Pele from like the 1970s. So
I'll tell you what, I didn't notice too much of that uncanny valley. I mean, they're AI, clearly AI, but I didn't notice too much of that uncanny valley, like too many fingers or whatever kind of comes with AI images sometimes. So maybe he's a really good operator of AI. Maybe he's got talent.
No, it's. I will say, in my opinion, he does it very quickly. Like there's a San Antonio Thunder logo. It's a cow. It's from NASL days. It's a cowboy kicking a soccer ball, right? He's running and kicking a soccer ball. He animated it, and it looks like the guy is dribbling the soccer ball.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Something like that.
Right.
Wow.
So it's pretty.
Wow.
It's a mass AI kind of push.
Look, there's beyond Scott Michaels, there is a discussion to be had about the value, again, of these old NASL teams. Now, the Cosmos existed fairly recently as a going concern. It's a soccer playing club. But we've had some people say, like, I don't think the Cosmos should be coming back. They shouldn't be. I was initially skeptical, and to Eric Stover's credit, he came on the show and defended the idea. But I was skeptical about having a third division soccer team carrying the Cosmos name in a 5,000 seat stadium in Paterson, New Jersey. That seemed like an odd fit to me. So I think there's stuff here. I just don't know how to unpack it based on what Scott is doing.
Yeah, I mean, there is value in that name, right? There's value in the New York Cosmos name and brand, and for whoever owns that intellectual property not to use it, it's somebody's going to take it. Like if I, rightly or wrongly, somebody's going to try to take it. So if it has to be third division, I think that's the move. I will say personally, if I were in that same position, I would do that, because it's better to be the New York Cosmos and be playing soccer than to just have the brand up sitting.
Well, obviously with the potential of promotion or relegation, all these things what USL is doing, there's at least a way to imagine the Cosmos playing in what would be a first division in American soccer. Again, whether the stadium kind of fits the legacy of the Cosmos, but again, the Cosmos were playing on Randall's Island at one point. Like it's not, and you know this, Dan, better than I do, probably as a historian. It's not as though the Cosmos origins were glitzy and glamorous. They weren't at all. They were the opposite.
Grubby. Yeah. A lot of that early NASL days were kind of, grubby, kind of minor league level that we would think about today. It wasn't until Pele hit, right, and that whole machine started rolling that it became the Cosmos playing in Giant Stadium and drawing 80, 60, 70, 80,000 people. Yeah.
So what's the next step here? Is there an obvious next hearing or anything like that?
So the Hinchcliffe suit against Mr. Michaels, they received a preliminary injunction. I'm not sure what it says against Mr. Michaels, and some type of other kind of temporary recourse while the suit is moving forward. I assume that means that, I'm guessing here because I don't know exactly what it says. My pure guess is that they have basically said, they've asked and probably received from the court, we need to play as the New York Cosmos. Well, we can't just go out there. What are we supposed to do? And we likely have the better side on this right now. So we'd like to probably play as the New York Cosmos for this season while the suit is going on. I think that's where we are with that one. The other cases that Michaels has brought in the various people, I think they're kind of still sitting there. I think they're waiting to see maybe what's happening with the other one.
Okay. I mean, American soccer messy. All this messy and fascinating and
right. Yeah.
This is following the Cosmos yet again, but in a different form. But for folks unfamiliar, where can they find your stuff, Dan?
Where can they find my stuff? Like me sitting here disheveled in front of my computer is kind of where they can find my stuff. No, I'm on Blue Sky, Dan Creel, website, dancreel.com. I'm trying to put more kind of blogging articles on there to make it a little bit more kind of active. But yeah, they can find me there. Just blue skying dumb stuff throughout the day.
Only because we have a spare minute here, and we've talked in the past about NISA on previous shows. What is your take on this rebirth of NISA and this fall tournament that's supposed to happen in a couple weeks?
Good luck to NISA in their fall tournament, I will say. My team, I don't really have a team to root for, the Maryland Bobcats. Got the pegs knocked out of them at the end of the season. So, wish the folks well. Anybody, yes, there you go, the glitch kit, love it. If anything provides kind of paid work to soccer players, coaches, front office staff, and it happens in the NISA Pro Cup, more power to them.
There you go. Yeah. We're not going to be picky anymore.
Thank you so much. Everyone go check out his website. And thank you so much for joining us here on Morning Kick Around. Thank you, everyone who's tuned in. Thank you to our new members who have hit that button today. But we got one more segment lined up. We're going to come right back. Soccer Disruptors with Kyle Martino coming right here on Monday's Morning Kick Around. Welcome in. This is Soccer Disruptors on Morning Kick Around. You may know our guest from national team commentary. His time as a player. He's involved in a number of things, including Street FC, the Over/Under Initiative, and Golfer. But today we're going to lead off with talking about Atletico Dallas, USL Championship expansion team. And our guest has just joined the ownership group, Kyle Martino. Thank you for joining us here on Morning Kick Around, sir.
What's up, y'all? How you doing?
Good to see you, Kyle. Looking good, buddy. Appreciate you coming on. We were like, we went to Albuquerque and we did this thing in New Mexico and happened to meet a guy named Sam Morton who had been on our show previously to talk about Atletico Dallas. And hey, Kyle Martino is part of the ownership group. Oh, well, we want to talk about Atletico Dallas with Kyle Martino. Absolutely. And we obviously talked about the other stuff that you've got going on. So first of all, I think the obvious question is why join a USL expansion team ownership group, Kyle?
I mean, you met Sam. He's pretty contagious, isn't he? So yeah, I mean, honestly, the founders. My team ownership started with Steve Nash and Stu Holden when we were part of the ownership of Mallorca. Those guys are still involved, and I wasn't sure if I'd ever been part of an ownership group again. Been just busy in my world, building Street FC and trying to increase access to the game. And it was Matt Valentine who just reached out to me and had a call with him and Sam. And they just said, listen, the mission you are on, we've been following for a while. It's really, what we're trying to build with our team is a community ground up, 100-year asset where, we truly unlock the part of the game that you've talked about. So it really, they didn't reach out to me about being a part of the ownership group. It was really about aligning our missions. And, the first call was amazing. They showed me some of the branding. They talked about the project. And honestly, it was like, I can't miss an opportunity to be a part of trying to build something as special as what those guys have started.
Yeah, you mentioned your ownership group or you're part of ownership group in Spain and with Mallorca. Is there something that might get under your skin a little bit more about owning something here stateside?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Someone the other day was like, but you're an MLS guy. And I'm like, what does that mean? It's like,
you're a shill,
not a soccer
Kyle.
guy, not a soccer guy.
You're the pocket of Don Garbers.
Yeah, it's just like, what's funny, I think if anyone knows this about me, and Don definitely does, and anyone who followed my run for U.S. Soccer president, it's like, I'm just a soccer first guy. It's like, the first hat I put on, the first dream I have in the morning is I just want everyone in this country to love this game as much as I do. I want to open up the pathways to it. And, MLS gave me my dream. And honestly, I look at being a USL team owner as a push MLS to be the best it can be. For me, it's like anything you can do from any tier or any angle to get involved in the game of this country. Obviously, it's to raise the bar and move everything forward. So I look at being a USL owner as a pro MLS. I want to. I want to push. Obviously, we've got FC Dallas in Dallas, it's an MLS team, and obviously we're the downtown team. We want to be the best team in Dallas, but for me, it's like we need those guys to succeed, and the best way to make that possible is to be the best team we can be in Dallas. So, like, who knows where professional sports is going to be in our sport in this country in 10 years? But for me, getting involved at any level is a pro soccer in America decision.
Yeah, I think something that we've covered on this show, and certainly people who know me know that I've been American soccer first all the way back to the beginning of my career. I did a show on the radio that was just about American soccer, and we would cover the second, third divisions, like whatever you want to call them, USL. We don't have pro rel between everything, and maybe there's a future for that with USL, but we still, I'll recognize that my focus tended to be on the national team. It tended to be on MLS, American players playing in Europe in particular. And maybe I wasn't kind of paying attention to the growth that was maybe at that point not exactly happening, but now clearly is, right? And we talked about the USL approach to this and kind of how that is. But it seems from Sam and from Matt and some of the other people involved in this club in Dallas that these are soccer guys. Certainly Sam is a soccer guy. He'll talk about the game and having played it and all these things and having engaged with it at a time when it wasn't super accessible. And obviously that's what you're about. You're about accessibility. So you mentioned aligning the missions. Dallas is a place, or the city team of Dallas. What can that do for Street FC? But what can Street FC do?
Yeah.
What can Over Under do for Dallas?
Well, I mean, listen, it's the fourth largest city in this country, and as great as it is that Dallas has a team, it doesn't have a downtown team, and I think that there's a large audience there when you talk about the Hispanic community there that just hasn't felt a team of their own, hasn't felt the Cotton Bowl, and I remember playing in it a long time ago. It's just there's an area of Dallas that has a rich heritage, and there's a lot of people that want to connect with something. And I think when you think about Street FC, it's really that street to stadium game. So yeah, there's a large part of the community there that already loves to play that pickup style concrete game, and so I'm going to use every arrow in my quiver to make sure that we speak to the community that loves the game, that feels they want a downtown team. And so you're definitely going to see the concrete get taken over a little bit, and we've got some fun announcements we're going to make in the next few months. But honestly, I just want a reason to be there as much as possible. So having Street FC be one of the spokes in the community hub is going to be an incredible thing to grow there.
I liked what you said about becoming a soccer first guy, not an MLS first guy, and getting on board with a MLS or a USL championship side nearby might push the MLS side, and that's associated with Dallas farther, but also the Atletico Dallas is taking pretty bold moves. You mentioned the branding, there's bold choices there with no name on there, and then just kind of the insignia itself, like a wordless badge, is unusual and bold and drew a lot of reaction. And then planning to play in Cotton Bowl, a large historic notable landmark of a stadium. Is that boldness how does that suit do you think that suits what you're going for? Was it the boldness that won you over, or was it like kind of hand in hand with what you're going on? Like you said, bringing the street to the stadium, or I guess what is that? Was it the boldness of it all that kind of got you on board?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the authenticity that really spoke to me, and that here are two childhood friends that fell in love with soccer together, have lived a life in soccer, and when I saw the branding, my favorite part about it, I mean, I love the colorways, I love the story behind the wolf and the snake, but for me, not having the name, earning the right to be Dallas for me is what I love. It's like it's not an entitlement or a reverence to leave Dallas out. It's like this crest will be known as Dallas when we earn the right for it to be known as Dallas. So that to me, I think there's a subtle humility, and obviously, people want to see references and all that sort of stuff, but it's like, it's a Dallas team. You will know it's a Dallas team if we build the right club.
I do think also, like, we just live in an era where if you see something, you're like, what the heck is that? And you're on your phone in 2 seconds to Google it and find out what it is. So that's the kind of thing that people are going to go, well, I don't know what that is. Find out, oh, it's a soccer. And not only now do you know it's a soccer team, you might be seeing the website. You might be learning where they play. You might be, there's something interesting that we got some questions here in the chat. I want to get to this one. This is something obviously everybody's talking about. Kyle, as a USL owner, would you be in favor of Pro Rel within the USL ecosystem? I think I know the answer to this question, Kyle, but why don't you give our man an answer?
Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, it's the greatest sporting meritocracy on the planet. You'll remember my days running for U.S. Soccer President. I wasn't one of these guys that promotion relegation cures cancer. It's the soul for everything. It's going to be this amazing thing that's going to unlock the universe. I think you and I both are sort of logic-based people that knew it was going to be a challenge to install a system with the paradigm and the construct that exists in the format that MLS has. But I love, and when we were given the choice, first division or not, I mean, Matt and Sam, they didn't even blink for a second. Yeah, of course we want to be in that first division, and of course we want to earn our right to stay in it. So I am definitely all for a format that rewards those that do it right, and the beauty is punishes those that don't keep up with the crowd.
All right, we don't want to take up too much of your time, but I did want to ask you about one more thing. I mean, this is not directly related to Atletico Dallas or your other projects, but you were quoted in a story. I mean, I know it's part of the access question, but you were quoted in a story about NIL affecting the future of the U.S. men's national team in particular, which I thought was a very interesting angle to come at NIL from. I hadn't considered that, so it was eye-opening to me. What do you, I mean, as a guy who played college soccer, obviously went pro, what do you think that does in terms of the incentives that are there? Because, one of the things we always talk about is lots of parents kind of push their kids in various directions depending on what is available to them if they are successful in said sport. Does NIL change that equation?
Yeah, I mean, I think one argument is that there is now another carrot in front of young athletes from certain backgrounds to move out of soccer and into another sport. And so for me, I think the challenge is as big today as it's ever been, which is we got to stop having these kids select one sport at a young age. We got to stop hyper specializing, hyper professionalizing the sport at 8, 9, 10 years old. For me, as long as we can keep kids sports sampling and playing basketball and playing soccer and playing baseball and playing all these sports and doing it in an unstructured way, the longer we can keep them doing that, the better chance soccer has at being the number one sport in this country.
Yeah, you hear so many stories of from professional soccer players, especially within MLS, that their parents were heartbroken when they chose soccer over going to play football or basketball. Because that path, play well as a youth, soccer, or play in high school, go to college, go pro, and that path is not a clear, well-beaten path, especially for domestic American players. I guess just kind of wrap it up. How is your missions with the various projects you're taking on? How is part of making that player pathway a clear path part of what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like, I think when I came out of the U.S. soccer presidency, the issue of consequence was access. And I just thought to myself, the best use of my time and my experience and my platform is really out of the competitive environment. The ownership group was a fun thing. I'm not going to be in there talking to sporting directors, who the coach is and all that sort of stuff. They've got that taken care of. For me, my angle is a cultural one. I mean, we need kids playing at recess. We need kids playing on the blacktop. Like my journey starts at the bottom and sort of ends when they're putting GPS systems on 11-year-olds. That's what I'm out.
No, I think that's something I've been harping on for a long time. People are like, oh, how do we win the World Cup on the men's side, et cetera, et cetera. And everybody wants to plan for that. I'm like, you can't. I mean, what you're doing is a plan. It's just at the beginning, and you obviously have to let it cook and let it marinate. It's not going to be overnight. It's not going to be one cycle. We're not going to turn this into a world power. What we have to do is make soccer so ubiquitous and so important to kids that we just start producing the kind of players that can win us a World Cup. And it's probably not any more complicated than that, Kyle, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's no panacea. I mean, you nailed it, but I studied this deeply. This is not a, finger in the air, how's this going to work? I mean, worked with Aspen Institute of Sports and so many different groups. And there was one stat that really just was kind of my aha moment, which is proximity to a facility is the highest percentage chance a kid will start and continue to play sports. It's like, second you put soccer all the way over there, we're going to really struggle for our men and women to continue to perform at the international level and be powerhouses. Like the second that it's a blacktop economy and soccer's on every street corner, I mean, that is the biggest thing we can do to nudge our men towards winning a World Cup while my hair isn't entirely gray, although it's definitely good.
You and me both, Kyle. It's a beard first for me, but we're there. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man.
Kyle Martino, thank you so much for joining us here on Morning Kick Round. Everyone, what's that?
See you in Dallas.
Oh yeah, hopefully we will. And if knowing Sam, he's going to bring us out, so we'll hopefully see you there at some point.
We'd love to have you.
Okay.
See you guys.
Thank you so much for joining us here on Morning Kick Around. Great guests here on this show: Kyle Martino, Dan Creel, and we have a bevy of more guests later in the week. So we got 2 on Wednesday and at least 1 on Friday. Thank you so much Kyle. Check all his stuff out on social media. He's got
It's what
a
we're,
lot
this,
of projects.
this is what we're bringing you 3 times a week. This is what we're bringing you. And obviously we want to continue to grow. We want to do more of our Albuquerque style trips. We want to do more of this. The bigger we grow, the better guests we get. I mean, Kyle Martino's great. Have a little bit of a personal relationship with him, so was able to reach out and get him on the show. Obviously, Sam Morton of Atletico Dallas helped hook that up.
Yeah.
But the more people know who we are, the more likely we're going to get a yes when we ask for people to come on the show. And we want to be able to do that and get people like Kyle, get owners from across American soccer, people involved in the creation of these clubs. Again, dotting the map is one part of it, but we want to know how you're going to succeed once you put your dot down. That's part of the story. So anyway, be an MK Ultra is what I'm trying to say, or subscribe if you haven't done that already.
Yeah, shout out to Chris Cordell, who became a member during the show. Shout out to Mike in Brazil, who did so over the weekend. We're going to start doing more posts on the Morning Kicker on YouTube channel after the show on Friday, after we talk to Travel Football Fan. I posed the question, did you enter into phase 1 of the World Cup ticketing process? And the winner of that poll, 37% of you said no, it's too expensive. Followed second by yes, I did. And then third in the poll was no, phase 1 was a total scam. So look out for poll questions coming up on the Morning Kick Around YouTube channel. And thank you everyone for tuning in. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your pets, subscribe, and then kick it up a notch and becoming a member. Help us dot the map. Plenty to cover here in United States soccer as that map gets thicker and thicker, more and more
baby.
dots.
Let's go. Let's do it. Excited for that. Dot the
All
map, dot the map, dot the map. Just keep hammering that. That's what we're going to do. That's what Kyle was saying essentially. Now he's putting his money down and his influence down on Dallas, but what over under, which is the initiative he has to turn those blacktops into soccer courts, the Golfer, which is the pop-up goal that can be installed in these courts so that you can play basketball. And then, oh wait, we want to play pickup soccer. We can just pop up that goal and we can play. All that's about dotting the map with access to the game, as he said. Now we want clubs to do it because clubs can invest in these communities, and clubs are an influence on young people and kids to play in their communities, whatever their community might be. But it's all the same. It's all the same idea. There's only one idea that matters, Rob. In American soccer, there's only one idea that matters, and it's dot the map.
Yeah, I remember when he was a presidential candidate, his platform was very much a dot the map, open to pro rel, and definitely enjoyed what his platform was when he was running back then. But we'll be back. Like I said, great guests on Wednesday, a lot more to bring you as we continue our mission to dot the map. And until then, everybody check out the channel. But ultimately, enjoy your soccer. See you Wednesday.